Well, Rosemary Smith, welcome. You're the managing director of the Getting Better Foundation, and you've long since been a fantastic media literacy champion, and you have a lot of wonderful things to talk about with us today. And I know that you have the Trust Me documentary and your media and news literacy education program. So why don't you just kind of kick us off by telling us a little bit about who you are, maybe how you got to the Getting Better Foundation and what the foundation supports.
Oh, yeah, great. So, yeah, I manage the Getting Better Foundation. We are based in Livingston, Montana. We support media literacy education and produced Trust Me documentary and media and news literacy education program, as you said, primarily because we saw a problem and wanted to address it. And we thought, there's nothing like tackling a worldwide problem from just our little home in Livingston, Montana, right? But as a former broadcaster and parent of four now adult children, I witnessed firsthand how a lack of media literacy led to anxiety, depression, violence, substance abuse, suicide ideation. So I've now dedicated my life's work to sharing what I learned and the resources the Getting Better Foundation has compiled with other families, parents, schools, and organizations. As nonpartisan as our mission and work is, I find some groups try to politicize media lit or think it's an agenda to tell people what or how they should think. But our mission is totally the opposite. We want to arm people with trustworthy information that they can use to make their important life decisions. And that allows them to think for themselves, right? Not telling them how to think, but how to think.
Mhm.
Um, so our focus is to empower people with critical thinking skills because this new internet-based world is different. Um, as a former broadcaster, I saw how, newspapers, all media is created to get us to do something, right? Newspapers, radio, television, added images. And now this new internet-based world, what's different is not that media is trying to get us to do something. It's just that fire hose of information since the advent of the internet. It's 24 hours, it's nonstop. And as Tristan Harris says in Trust Me documentary, there's a fire hose of information. The difference is we never had somebody trying to stick pins in a voodoo doll on the other side of our telephone conversations or newspaper. We could put those things aside. We could turn the radio and television off, but it's just like this never stops. So that's the main difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so how identifying those problems, then what is it that you were able to build and kind of what you were able to change in that environment?
Yeah, so Joe Phelps, our founder of the Getting Better Foundation, started compiling big thinkers, of a circle of big thinkers and doers. And so we ended up putting that into an advisory board for the foundation. And they were great. They said, oh, this is good. Media literacy. Yeah. So we supported teachers to get certified with the PBS digital literacy curriculum. And that was great, but it was slow going. We had like 5 teachers the first year and then 22 the next. But we thought, we would produce a documentary. So Joe and I went to Hollywood and hired Rocco Bellic, Oscar-nominated director, Wadi Rum Films, and Rocco basically traveled the world filming stories, real stories, where a lack of media literacy led to crises. The hard part was cutting down 40 hours of footage into a 1 hour, 1.5 hour documentary. But that's what we ended up with. It was stories that told how parents nearly lost their young child because he had to go through tetanus, which was, it's totally preventable. We step on a tack. What does our doctor tell us to do? Well, when was the last time you had a tetanus shot? So But he had to go through a coma, learn to walk again, talk again, all because he had to go through tetanus. Uh, a family who lost their young son to a lynching because of misinformation on encrypted WhatsApp. Um, Stories of how families are struggling with addiction of devices. Their children aren't sleeping. Their school performance is going down. And then we focus on the positive. We focus on educators who are teaching kids how to use cell phones in a trustworthy manner and be more trustworthy themselves. We collaborated with the News Literacy Project and the Knight Foundation to produce curriculums to go along with these things, and parental discussion guides they can have at home. We just recently last year launched the Getting Better bot as a mechanism to share trustworthy research from these advisors to anybody who would like to ask the bot questions about how to be more trustworthy online. We curated and publish, we initially called it Reality Check newsletter. We're changing that name to Getting Better News because we see other reality check newsletters out there. But we've already got an audience of like 30,000 email subscribers for that newsletter. So people are interested in this. They're hungry for how to become more trustworthy online, more solutions, more collaborative as opposed to being so polarized. So yeah, we've created some resources. We've spent our entire endowment so, on the production of the film and all the resources. So now we are seeking partners who would like to take these resources to their audiences, students, teachers, families, um, organizations. Yeah.
And this documentary has been shown not just in the United States, but around the world as well. Is that right?
It has. It has. We were very fortunate early on. One of our advisory board members, Sherry Hope Culver, introduced us to the people working in the State Department on global digital wellness. And so we screened the film in Greece at the THESAM in Thessaloniki, THESAM Academy for Journalists and Journalism students from all over Europe. And that kind of launched a relationship with the State Department where we showed the film to embassies, universities, American corners all over the world. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
That's great. That's great. And then in terms of impact from the film or your curriculum or other work that you've been working on, what is the potential impact or the known impact that you feel like you've made or is in progress still on students and teachers, the community, or anyone involved in any of your programs?
Yeah, Monica, it surprises me, to be honest with you, that the film has retained its relevancy since producing it in 2020. There's a couple of charts in the film that really, that are a little bit dated, like they're dated 2020. But if you watch the film today, it's like, oh, there's the Ukraine in there. There's Putin's foreign influence in democracy. There's parents that are still struggling with. We thought media literacy would like be a huge buzzword after the 2020 election, right? Politics but people are still struggling. They're still falling for financial scams, political, online manipulation. So nutrition and health information, that's kind of like my big soapbox because I love nutrition and health information. And the misinformation that's out there, people taking these supplements that, might be detrimental to their health. So we see that need for fact checking our data um, and become less politicized. So the impact, one of my favorite, if I can share a story with you, I know we have a short time frame here today, but a story about a student when we were in Romania working with the Center for Media Literacy and the Apollo Forum and the embassy in Bucharest. So we showed the film at an American corner, which brought high schools in from the area. It was in an auditorium that was really should house 50 students, and we poured 150 students in here. And this was August of 2022, I believe. So COVID was still rampant. The curtains are closed, the doors are closed, so it could be dark for the movie. And one of our students fell down in the back of the auditorium. So
No.
we stopped the film, two boys on each side of her picked her up and brought her to the front of the room. And I'm thinking, oh, we are going to get it. We're all going to get COVID.
Oh no. Yeah.
Brought her into the hallway. The principal went out with her. She comes back in and says, it's okay. It's okay for the rest of you. Continue to watch the film. She's not sick. She fainted.
Mm.
And she fainted because the material was so close to her heart.
Oh.
She'd been bullied. She was thinking about taking her own life.
Mhm.
And now, because she saw the film, she would like to show it with her parents and tell them how she's been feeling and get some help.
Oh wow. That's
So
very impactful. Yeah.
that is just a good testimony to, I mean, our own kids, how
Mhm.
their eyes were opened to how they can be more, um, they can protect their mental health, right? By using media literacy. So we see media
Absolutely.
literacy, not political, it's mental health. And mental health is health. And it's also a way for us to overlook differences with each other so we can solve those bigger problems our world is facing.
Absolutely. And you made several good points as well with it's not just students who are either the targets of disinformation or the targets of media literacy education. It's the greater community, it's parents, it's really everyone, especially people who are online, especially anyone who interacts with any type of media. And too often people think about news, right? They think about news, and we need media literacy to help people understand news, which, like you said, is not the case necessarily. There's nutrition and health information. There's, information all over the place about supplements and, people are selling things online, and who are they and why are they selling these things? Is it effective? Is it dangerous? And that's all things that people navigate these days, regardless of how old you are. And so having media literacy and the key questions that we ask ourselves when we see a piece of information is important no matter what we're looking at, for sure. So I'm glad you had these impactful experiences. I mean, kind of dramatic, but that's sometimes that aha moment that people
Yeah.
need to kind of engage in this. So excellent. And then shifting over to Washington State itself, just kind of in your words, why media literacy matters for Washington State.
Oh, I love that question. Media literacy for Washington, and Washington is ahead of the curve, right? Washington, we're ahead of the nation in media literacy standards and requiring some type of media literacy in schools. But media literacy for Washington, I think also, you just hit on it, means an informed citizen is one who knows they may be manipulated, not just by online media. But I love one of the practices early on. Your Center for Media Literacy, President Tessa Joles, used to show a foot fungus commercial to get
Ah,
people to understand what of this commercial is being used to manipulate me, right? It
mm,
doesn't mean that that commercial was evil or trying to get us to do something bad. It doesn't mean that all media is bad. It just means that, you know, there are certain things that are used in that commercial. A cute little character, right? That looked like foot fungus. Music, colors. These are all things that get us to respond. But once we're empowered with the knowledge that this is trying to manipulate me to do something, in that case, buy foot fungus cream, right? Um,
right.
so, so it's not necessarily bad, but now that I know that it's trying to get me to do something, I now am empowered with choice. I can choose, do I have foot fungus? Should I buy foot cream? And if not, maybe this doesn't pertain to me. Maybe I can move on. to some other media that does pertain to me and that can help me make important life decisions. Or maybe, ah, I have foot fungus. Now I
Ah,
know what I can do to help fix it.
right.
So it allows us to align our values, and all of us need that. Seniors, parents, families, kids, educators. We all need to make informed decisions aligned with our values, but on trustworthy, truthful information.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said earlier too, it's a nonpartisan tool. It's like any other subject. It's like math, etc. And it has that civil discourse, and you want people to be able to have these productive conversations and not be as polarized as we have become. And there's so much that media literacy can do. And if you want to talk about kind of in the age of AI, especially what you've noticed becoming more important in media literacy curriculum or studies.
Oh, yeah. Artificial intelligence is just getting better and better. It's
Mhm.
just getting more and more difficult to determine if something is true or not. So without media literacy, we don't have the resources to look at that, to do lateral reading, to double check an image. So it's only going to be more important with the rise of AI. I like to call our learning about that AI with AI. Academic integrity, right, is also AI. So artificial intelligence with academic integrity
Yeah.
is, if we're not teaching our kids this in schools, we're leaving it to the for-profit platforms. I'm
Mhm.
not saying they're all evil, but
Mhm.
wouldn't we rather control, maybe not control, but educate them how the risks and then how to navigate this in our
Mhm.
schools where we have educators who are, went to school for how to learn these things. So I think not allowing AI or cell phones in schools is a little short-sighted. Yes, it stops the problem in the short term, but if we're
Mhm.
not teaching them, we're leaving it to the platforms to teach them. So I think we need to incorporate it into schools.
Right, and integrating AI education, integrating that media literacy component, because before, the kind of previous big thing, what we had internet usage, and you had people who were like, never in my classroom, this is a fad, it'll pass. And then maybe cell phones were like, why do I need a phone in my pocket? What good could this do? And then AI, you also have people who are like, this is nothing, it's still not what they say it is. It's not helpful, it's detrimental, we shouldn't even know how to use it. It's knowing how to become familiar with these and growing technologies that will change practically every day. And it's
Mhm.
not understanding everything about them necessarily, but how to think about it, right? It produces media or images or information that you have to learn how to process, and that's what media literacy is, right?
Yeah. And look, let's put the joy back into people's lives. Let's teach them how to use these things because there is so many cool things about the internet and about AI. Let's put the joy back into learning. Let's not say it's all doom and gloom or people should give up their devices. This is such an important tool. It's so amazing what it can do. But let's teach them how to use it.
Right. Great. And then if you want to mention any sort of anything that people can do, any calls to action, any websites that they can visit, or programs that you'd recommend from your side, or anything that people can do to become more informed citizens.
Yeah, Monica, when you and I first set out on this project, right? It's only, 2015, I'm talking about 2014, 15. I think I was at the UNESCO conference in Gothenburg. But there were very few organizations, your Center for Media Literacy being the primary one, who was doing work in this area. And Elizabeth told me, man, back in what is the 50s, I think, or the 60s, that she identified media literacy as a way to global peace, right? To reduce violence. So we've come a long way. Now we go to these conferences and there's tons and tons of people working in the field, resources. Teachers don't know where to start. So I think we can help. We're dedicated to helping. Learn how you can join us in this work, learn how you can share resources and how to start integrating media literacy into classrooms, into families, into communities. Our gettingbetterfoundation.org, www.gettingbetterfoundation.org, has a resources page where we're compiling vetted, trustworthy resources. Advante's media bias chart, Center for Media Literacy's longitudinal studies, the media education labs. So we've kind of compiled them all into one place. We need to legislate media literacy education like we do civics. You graduate, you have to have learned this. So sign the petition again at gettingbetterfoundation.org. That way we can get that to our legislators so that they know parents are really concerned about this, students, educators. And then let's build a more informed Washington. We're hosting Trust Me film and speaker events at schools, libraries, in your community. It could be a corporation. That's trustmedocumentary.com. You can learn about how to host those. We even provide scholarships for school districts or organizations that don't have funding to do something like this. We'll work it out.
Great.
100%, if they do license the film, 100% goes to our Getting Better Foundation's media literacy educational programming. So we're a nonprofit. So we're not trying to, we don't have an agenda. We're not trying to persuade people right or left, green, purple, whatever your color is. It's not motivated by any bias. It's just motivated to empower people with media literacy.
Fantastic. And any closing thoughts, anything that you'd want people to kind of take away if they remember one thing from our conversation or one thing to tell the world?
I really wish for you and your families and your students to be empowered by these critical thinking skills that allow us to think for ourselves and align our important decisions with our own values and what's important to us to be successful, to be healthy, and then to be wiser using media literacy.
I like that, to be wiser. I love it. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you to the Getting Better Foundation. Thank you for being a media literacy champion. And we hope to see many more media literacy champions in the state of Washington and have that influence grow and have a more informed public for sure.
Oh, thanks to both of you. You guys are great. We love you. Wow.